Oh, you're wondering, of course, that is by request, Ragdoll on 108.9 The Hawk. We never play it. It is not in our library.
Not in heavy rotation, not in light rotation, not in medium rotation.
Not in what you would call the gold library, the gold standard.
No.
It's not part of that.
And they only requested the scatting part at the end, too, and that's definitely not in it.
Just play the scat.
Just play the scat. And they're like, look, we all just want to play the scat.
Best part of
one
an
of the
Aerosmith
best
song.
Scats in classic rock.
Oh my God, such a good scat.
Scatman Crothers heard that and said, I got to give up my name.
I'm just going to be Jimmy Crothers.
Get Steven Tyler in The Shining because I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
Let him have a Shining.
But there is a reason that we are playing Ragdoll by Aerosmith this morning. Of course, Big Truck and Greg are hotcasting live from the Verde Dome this morning with a huge big announcement from Aerosmith. We'll get to that very, very soon. 6:15 on the Wisp Turlington Show on 108.9 The Hawk. Of course, I remain Wisp Turlington.
As you do.
As I do.
And
You?
I be Geoff the Angry Man Garlock.
You do.
I do.
And we're so excited. Olivia Rodrigo is coming on in just 5 minutes.
Oh, the kids
Olivia
are loving
Rodrigo. The kids are loving it. But what I love about Olivia Rodrigo.
Yes.
Olivia Rodrigo is truly bringing the rock and roll back to the radio. Isn't that true?
Truly bringing the rock and roll. They say rock's dead, and I say, have you heard Olivia Rodrigo? Because I know that mothers of teenagers have definitely heard Olivia Rodrigo.
The Who said rock is dead. Rock is dead, they say. But you know what I say, Jeff?
What do you say?
Long live rock.
You do say that. Who was they when the Who said that?
Oh, that was the Herman's Hermits.
Oh, man. Herman's Hermits. Always talking
fucking
shit,
Noon.
aren't they?
Goddamn Peter Noon.
Now, look, I love the use of Herman and Naked Gun. You gotta love Herman's Hermits and the Naked Gun.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
And you gotta give it the proper title, The Naked Gun. It's not Naked Gun, it's The Naked Gun.
And it's basically a Herman's Hermits movie.
Leslie Nielsen will take a fart machine and shove it right up your ass.
Right, the ghost of Leslie Nielsen still carrying around that fart machine. Now, the fart machine is real.
Leslie Nielsen's fart machine.
Rest in power. His ghost carries it around, and sometimes you'll see that down at Plusky's because he does like to visit the Ghost of Power's booth down at Plusky's.
When the Ghost of Power's booth is down at Plusky's and he's trying to do a booth rescue.
Yep.
And then the ghost of Leslie Nielsen shows up, and he's saying, yeah. And then ultimately, Power's booth is like, no, that's a booth rescue.
We're coming back. We're taking back the booth at you've done it for a month. You've got a good booth. We come back and we take it back. And then you're just by yourself like, oh, God, what do I do here?
But the thing is about that booth, you're not alone, because you're always going to be there with the ghost of Power's booth.
Yes.
The ghost of Leslie Nielsen's fart machine.
Yes.
And the ghost of Greg Allman, of course.
I got to get on my...
Angel Man.
Oh, there he is.
Ghost and he's always here with us.
Always here. Love the ghost of Greg Allman. But I'll tell you one thing I don't love.
What's that?
Fucking Val Verde rag. And Scotty, our producer behind the glass, Scotty, the delay is on, correct? Good. Fucking
but also,
Val Verde.
I would say, even if the delay wasn't on this morning,
yes.
When you're talking about the fucking Val Verde rag,
oh my God,
you don't need a fucking
give
delay.
me a fucking break, right? Of course, Huey Lewis, now the editor of the Val Verde rag, and he started a brand new editorial series into my drone attack, Wisp's drone attack. I'm using quotation marks. You just can't hear quotation marks on the radio.
You've tried for over 47 years.
For 47 years in terrestrial radio. Just put it on a shirt. He's trying to look into my drone attack. He says it's me. It was not me. I promised you. I told you I did not use my drones to destroy the 108.9 The Hawk studio, leaving us in this very, 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 very smelly RV that is your home, but also now the studio.
Yes, it is.
Jesus.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. I'm working on it, all right? I got those Glade plugins, but none of my plugs work. So
Huey Lewis.
Not really working.
Not working. Huey Lewis. No. Huey Lewis, of course.
No, it doesn't work.
We passed that. We figured it out. We moved on. I gave you 2.
This is why it's your show.
I literally gave you 2, and then you just kept going.
I go with rule of threes in terrestrial radio.
Okay,
there's one thing that you got to have in terrestrial radio.
Don't think, right, when you're doing terrestrial radio.
Don't think when you're doing terrestrial radio at all.
But, Huey Lewis can't do music anymore, so he might as well be the editor of a local newspaper, and that's what he's doing. And this editorial series, Geoff, is called Do You Believe in Wisp?
Oh, wow.
Stupid.
Wow.
It's real stupid when fucking I Want a New Wisp was right in front of Huey. He could have been, if this is Wisp.
I mean,
doing it all for my Wisp. Hip
song
to be
from
Wisp.
Back to the Wisp. For the people who don't realize what titles are of songs.
Yeah.
Back to the Wisp.
Song from Back to the Wisp 2.
That was, of course, your fifth autobiography, Back to the Wisp.
Back to the Wisp. It's time. Let's take it back to the Wisp.
It was just young Wisp talking to Wisp right now. Just giving advice.
What's that, Scotty?
Because you feel like you learned everything when you were a young child.
Oh, God.
That's when you really
That's when you learn everything. You don't learn anything as an adult. There's
one
no
thing I've
learning
learned.
as an adult. It's as a fucking child.
You got to listen to 22-year-olds because they figured it out. They've got all their learning done. And by the time you hit 25, that's it. It is done.
It is done. What is that, Scotty?
Oh, wow.
Ah, okay. Really? Next week. Okay, well, Olivia Rodrigo has canceled. Seems that they're still in Japan. Japan.
Interesting.
Okay.
Japan.
Well, do we have a guest in the spot? Okay, we do. We do, and it's coming to us via Zoom. Have you used Zoom?
I've heard it's all the rage. I've been trying. I do a couple programs through Zoom.
What do you do?
I have tried it out.
What are these, like night classes? Are you trying to learn something else?
I got a 50-50 of doing nighttime adult pottery at home.
Okay.
And then I also do a couple groups that I need to leave
clay
anonymous.
everywhere.
I got to leave it anonymous, all right?
Okay.
Or was I supposed to leave the pottery class anonymous?
Well, you can't really do that because I'm basically sitting in clay.
Clay Anonymous.
What, is that a group?
Class.
Are you part of Clay Anonymous?
I can't talk about it. Part of it.
Did you get a clay chip?
There's what you get a clay. Look, the number one rule of Clay Anonymous.
Well,
maybe talk about Clay Anonymous.
Don't talk about Clay Anonymous.
Or we'll take your fucking chip back.
We're going to take your fucking chip back. That's it on the chip. It says, we will take your fucking chip back.
It's a big clay chip, but you got to carve it in yourself.
Well, maybe you can make some mugs for Juggggs Mug Emporium. We'll talk about that. Of course, they are the sponsors of the Wisp Turlington show here on 108.9 The Hawk. But apparently we do have a really, really great guest, and I'm excited about this one because, of course, not enough people talk about Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Wow, you felt that in your soul.
I had to take a second to just let it fill up right here in my my Wisp zone. The Wisp zone is right here in the chest.
You're talking about the important topics to the people and to Wisp in the Wisp zone.
Yeah, I didn't take
not
any
enough
pauses
people are talking about Genesis' double concept album, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
This was the last album with Petey Gabriel in the band, right? And he loves it. We're good best friends. Don't get upset if I'm calling him Petey Gabriel because he is very, very close, good friends. And I'm going to see him when he's at the Enormodome with that moon tour that he's doing right now. Not much of a stage. He's just walking around. And, of course, Tony Levin's there with his big old fingers.
The stick fingers are extra long this tour, is what I've heard.
Extra long.
He can sit in the nosebleed seats and play his bass.
He does. He goes to the top of the Enormodome. The bass is laying on the stage. And he's playing Sledgehammer from up there.
I don't know who's doing the fingering on the neck, but...
That's the name of his autobiography, Tony Levin's.
I don't know who's doing the fingering on the neck.
Yeah,
Tony Levin story.
The Tony Levin story. But maybe this man can tell us a little bit more about Lamb because he is such an expert on the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway that he's doing a one-man Lamb Lies Down on Broadway show at the Enormodome 2 weeks before Petey Gabriel's in town. It's Gavin. How am I saying the last name correctly here, Gavin? Is it Garjulio?
Garjulo is fine. I think when my dad, my great grandfather came from Italy, he probably would have said Garjulio, but we just Garjulo for us.
Garjulio. So it does not rhyme with Coolio. Scotty, you're wrong. He put that on my pronunciation.
$5 bet on that one.
He lost $5.
Hey, call me whatever you like, just as long as you call me, right?
Call me whatever you like, just as long as you call me.
Yeah.
Now, is that a B-side off of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway?
Is that a B-side on Lamb?
I don't know. I thought it was it Wind and Weathering? Is that what? It's one of those. post Peter Gabriel, before Steve Hackett left. It was in that mid period,
of course.
And
then there were 4 at that point.
Yeah.
And then there were 4.
Before things really...
and then there were 3. And then they kept just counting it down with singles and just letting you know. And then there were 3, but we had 2.
And then there were 2
session musicians who play. His name's Chester.
The other guy.
We'll get in the other.
And then they had that unreleased album, Still 3.
Oh,
then
3.
Yeah. Then there were 3, and then there was Still 3.
That one was just petulant. That one just seemed like they were just aggressively.
It was a lot of Tony Banks just dicking around on a keyboard. Let's be honest here. It's him
just honest.
Passive aggressively just plunking around. You could have called it Abacab too.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like I like the songs that feature Tony because he's such a dynamic performer.
You know,
I mean,
he's gonna love hearing that.
Yeah. I mean, I've never met the man personally. Really?
Oh no, he listens.
Oh, he listens.
Tony every day.
A lot.
He sends us notes actually after every broadcast.
Yeah. What did the last note say?
The last notes: pick up the pace.
Pick up the pace.
More references to Genesis. Don't bring up The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. That's a sore spot. So I got a feeling we're going to be getting some Banks notes today.
Getting some notes
today. So you're saying I probably don't need to be leaving a ticket at Will Call?
No, do it.
Yeah, he'll still show up.
Yeah, leave a ticket like he's your long-lost father.
Oh,
if you want to show up, you're like, is he going to show up? Because you know Rutherford's there every night. Rutherford does not give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, he'll see anything.
It's funny how, I've never met Tony Banks, but, I genuinely now duck Rutherford's calls. It's just a lot. It's a lot. He's a lot, and he calls you, and he wants to, it's always about, hey, have you heard about, some obscure news item? He's heavily, it's like he says he's not alt-right, but it's like it kind of drifts into that category.
It's a little questionable.
A lot of that just asking questions stuff,
He's like, this isn't what I think, but it could be, right?
Yeah.
Just looking at both sides, but one side maybe just a little bit more. It's just the Rutherford way,
Well, if you want to both sides it with your car, you can take it down to Mike and the Mechanics, but he's gonna talk to you a long time down on Hog Street. Mike and the Mechanics, they do have an oil deal this week, $14.95 for an oil change. They are ASE certified and great sponsors of 108.9 The Hawk.
Your car's going to be silent running after you go to Mike and the Mechanics.
Oh, look at that. Whoa, what a reference.
You can get your car fixed quickly so that you have time to enjoy the living years.
Oh!
Exactly. See, you get it.
Man.
You get it.
I think it's great that we've named both of the Mike and Mechanic songs.
You know what?
It is wonderful that
two songs.
I almost every year I buy the best of Mike and the Mechanics. And it's a wonderful CD because it's cheap because it's only 2 songs. The only best of album that's even cheaper is the best of Alien Ant Farm because you're like, really? What are we doing here? We're just doing that Michael Jackson cover? Interesting.
I like it when he does that lean.
Oh, when a guy who looks like he could be in Jackass doing the lean, that's just beautiful.
The kid breakdancer. The kid breakdancer. Oh my God. Do you know who that was?
No.
Do you?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Wow.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Really?
Wow.
And he got the idea for Facebook while doing the lean for the last
what would be cooler than doing the lean in Alien Ant Farm's Michael Jackson cover?
What would be cooler?
Starting Facebook.
What? Oh my God, we did it. Classic
Zuck.
Classic Zuck. Zuck will be on in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll talk to him a little bit about that. But Gavin, you're doing a huge thing here. Now we're talking Genesis. We're having our larfs and barfs about the old Genesis here. But it's a serious thing for you.
Yeah. Very much.
You're
better be serious.
Better be. You don't rent out the Val Verde Enormodome if you're not serious about doing a one-man Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Take us through the process, Gavin. What made you want to do this?
Well, I've been a fan for years, and of not just Genesis, but also the theater and entertainment in general. The theater, It's one of those things where, in high school, I played Little Abner in my junior high musical and got a lot of It was the title character. It's kind of a big deal, and a lot of buzz, and people are saying like, "Oh, you should be an actor. You should be an actor." And I don't know, just life happens, and my dad,
which is a damn shame because they say if you can tread the boards doing Little Abner,
that's what
you
they
can
say.
make it on Broadway. Yeah. We've all agreed upon that. That's definitely Little Abner is the role that brings it all together.
I think so. I mean, I just they don't give lead roles to anybody. It's just my point. It's
I mean, it's valid.
No way, no how.
And I'm at a point in my life. I just turned 53, and
happy birthday!
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I felt like it was time for me to give back to the community. And I thought, well, what do I have to offer? It's like, well, I do have all this talent that I've been sitting on for the last 35 years. Maybe it's time to dust that off. And and I went through various sort of ideas about stage productions I might. But then I thought, what about Rail?
Oh, here we go.
What about Rail?
What about Rail?
What
Rail?
About, I ask that question every morning when
every
I wake
morning.
up. I'm just like, I get out of my bed and I'm like, what about Rail?
Yeah.
And then you hear a little ding on your phone and you're like, text message. What's that?
Message. Who's that?
Oh, it's Geoff the Angerman Garlock and he's texting.
What about Rail?
What about Rail?
There it is. Wow.
Now, for people who maybe it's been maybe a few weeks since they've listened to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, I'm sure
Sucks
not
to be
everybody is
you.
immersed in this as we are. Rail, of course, the Puerto Rican street tough, our anti-hero, you could say, of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Yes, it is.
And it's one of those shows that just no one has ever bothered to really take to the stage since the original Genesis tour.
Not at all. I also, not to interrupt you there, Gavin, but I do have to say, I've got some...
You do have to interrupt.
I do have to interrupt because I was there when Petey was writing this.
You did.
I was over in London. I had gone over to slap Eric Clapton around. To just be like, get back to playing guitar and shut your mouth. So that's usually what I would do that at least once a quarter. I'd fly over to London and just slap Eric Clapton around. But Petey was like, well, I've got this new thing. You should come over in here. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it. And he's like, you know what, Wisp? I think I'm going to portray myself as a Puerto Rican street tough. Mm-hmm. You think I can pull that off? And I say, it's 1974. Why not?
Anything goes.
Anything goes. But now it's 2023, Gavin. Do you think that still applies?
Well, they were coming off, selling England by the pound, and he was kind of. I want to make my next magnum opus about America, and I think he had been to New York at least 3 or 4 times by then.
Once,
and so he got it.
Once.
It was one time. It was one time,
wow.
And it was a layover at LaGuardia. He was in. He was like,
he was able to pick all that up,
and then whoop back out, and then he went to
America's airport. And
that's really America's airport.
I mean, that just shows you the level of talent that somebody like Peter Gabriel can be sitting on the tarmac and 100%. Just all of a sudden have this amazing story that that he's the gift he gave to us. Yeah, and I feel like we've never given it. We've never, it's our turn to sort of pay it forward. Peter Gabriel gave us Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I want to give it to Val Verde.
It's like being in line of the drive-thru at Burger Tools, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to pay for the asshole behind me.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing by bringing Lamb Lies Down to Broadway, one-man production to the Enormodome. Now, when we talk Enormodome, Gavin, we do have to go to traffic really quickly here in a second, but I do want to say, when we talk Enormodome, I'm pretty sure we talk enormo cost. What is this personally costing you, Gavin?
I don't really want to get into the dollars and cents.
Come on, we're friends here. We're friends here.
You might not want to, but you could.
You probably should.
Mean, it's hard to say what my actual payout will be at the end of the day.
Right.
I would say that tickets are moving, steadily.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely feel like I'm expecting an uptick over the next couple weeks. Obviously interviews like this. I mean, I'm assuming this will probably sell 5,000 to 10,000
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Easily. And that's the classic 108.9 The Hawk with Turlington morning show bump. I mean, that just comes.
5 to 10,000 tickets sold.
Easy.
Anytime you come on the Whisp Turlington show, I do have to say to the listener, if you want free tickets, we're giving them away. 108.9 The Hawk. Now, we have paid for these, Gavin. We have paid for these. No. We paid for 2 tickets, and we're giving them away. Caller number 19 now.
That was you guys who bought those 2?
Yeah. So caller number 19 right now, give us a ring and we will give you those tickets to see Gavin. So 2
That's
tickets.
Disappointing. That means I guess that tickets haven't been selling quite as steadily as I thought, maybe, because I had assumed that those 2 were for someone else.
Oh no, we bought those.
Yeah, no, we got those. Don't you? But again, you're gonna get that 5 to 10,000 bump, and now you only need 4,998 to 9,998.
That's just math, Gavin.
That's just math.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where buzz begets buzz, and I'm pretty confident that once people hear about this, and not just people who are older and remember Genesis, but like young people, right. I mean, because who doesn't love graffiti? And
Slippermen?
Slippermen, beautiful women with lizard bodies.
Of course. Who doesn't love that?
Olivia Rodrigo fans, I'm sure, would love that.
I think people are going to be pretty impressed by the staging. You think, how can one man do all this? Well, I don't want to give too much away, but I'll say the lamia, which is what we're talking about. There's, for people who don't remember, there's of course 3 sexy lizard ladies, the lamia, and
the trifecta is what I call them.
The trifecta, yep.
He's got a poster of him right here on the wall. You can't see it because you're on Zoom, but he's got the 3 lizard ladies right here on Jeff's wall, and it is pretty.
Took down that Elle Macpherson poster and put up that lamia poster.
Yep, wow, and then you once had that. If I remember correctly, you had that Pink Floyd women's butts poster.
All the album covers on their butts. A tasteful piece of art.
Tasteful art. But now it's the lizard ladies, and that's for you, Gavin, because Scotty knew you were coming on.
That's for the kids. The kids are going to love this. I swear. You get that bump. The kids are going to come out for the lamia.
Oh, sure. I mean, and I think, you guys are probably familiar with the Real Dolls. Are you familiar with Real Dolls?
Oh yeah,
funny you should
you should ask about those, because we do have a version of Real Dolls in Val Verde, but they're called Rock Dolls, where the real dolls have been refashioned. Now these are slightly used to maybe not used real dolls that have been fashioned into some of your favorite rockers, and of course Rock Dolls has a special right now. If you want to get Izzy Stradlin and the Juju Hounds Rock Dolls, they are 50% off this week only. Rock Dolls down on Hog Street.
You do have to buy all the. You're not just getting Izzy, you're not just getting the Jujus. You're getting both.
You got to get Izzy and the Juju Hounds. You can't. You got to buy the whole thing.
It's just a law.
Well, see, what I've done is that I've taken 3 Real Dolls, which were not mine. They were somebody else's that I As far as I know,
sure. None of us are real.
100% not yours.
100%.
I believe you.
Never.
And then I thought, if we just attach pool noodles to the bottom half. And so basically, what I have is I have a broomstick with the 3 Real Dolls attached with pool noodles on the bottom, and then I wear the broomstick across my shoulders. Kind of like an old vaudeville sort of technique.
Yeah, like if you were on the Gong Show or something.
Oh my God.
A little dance. That's fantastic. That's a fantastic. This is production value.
Production
what I'm
value.
Hearing.
That you don't see production value like this at the Enormodome every day. Like when Kiss was here last week, they didn't have
CGI.
They're practical. There are no
yes, practical effects.
That's what it's about. If there's one thing I want when I'm seeing Genesis Lamb Lies Down on Broadway being performed by one person, is practical effects. Yes. One person, and there better not be any CGI blood. Because I assume Rail gets shot in here, but I also, not going to lie, I've never really completely understood the story completely. I'm expecting you to explain exactly. Yeah, is that a strange thing? Am I alone in this? It's just a slightly confusing story.
I mean, it's tale as old as time. I mean,
that's true.
If you've ever read Hero with 1,000 Faces, it's sort of the standard hero's journey.
Tale as old as time.
I do forget, yes, that Joseph Campbell, he was basically like, hey, Star Wars and rail. That's what I'm talking about.
Pretty
that
much.
was his long lost book, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I can walk people through it if they like.
Well, we're gonna walk through. We're gonna walk through it in just a second, but first, before we do that, Gavin, we gotta walk our asses through traffic. 108.9 The Hawk traffic with Art Spart.
Wow! Mother, tell your children not to hold my hand. Father, do you want to bang heads with me? Well, I hope so, because Danzig is in Val Verde and it has caused quite the traffic toss-up down on Hog Street. That's right. Danzig has finally brought his new chain of weightlifting gyms to Val Verde with the grand opening of the How the Gods Bench gym. Now, this is the only gym that promises to give you the body of Danzig, and not super jacked Danzig from back in the day, but that kind of barrel-chested guy who used to work out, but now what is going on with his body that Danzig seems to be rocking? And within 10 minutes of the grand opening, the street has been flooded with maniacs! Now, it's too early to tell if the maniacs are angry Danzig fans who were promised weightlifting to the sound of Danzig, and instead of Misfits, Sam Hain, or the first Danzig record, they are only playing the soundtrack to Danzig's movie Veronica while pumping iron. Or if it's people who came to the gym to look at How the Gods Bench lending library made up of all occult books from Danzig's personal collection, with many books on lycanthropy, which will inevitably turn these juice heads into werewolves. Or, speak of the devil, if it's just a bunch of juice heads, like at any gym running around with roid rage. Now, if you ask Art, the winning bet is on all three. But of course, the one I'm most psyched on is the werewolves. So I'm gonna go grab my silver bullets and head on down to Hog Street to go get some more traffic details and hopefully hunt me some monsters. All to the soundtrack of Left Hand Black, which is arguably the best Danzig song. And that's Art Spart from the Bert's Funeral Flowers traffic desk on 108.9 The Hawk.
With Bert's Funeral Flowers, with Bert's Funeral Flowers. Okay, Art. Well, I hope that works out for you.
Oh, sounds like it will.
Shit, hit the post.
God damn it.
It's me, Mikki Mackmack, with another On This Day in Rock History. On this day in rock history, Beatle legends Paul McCartney and John Lennon launched their 5-part audio series called Talking Manson with Lennon and McCartney. On each episode, John and Paul would talk for an hour about what happened to them over the weekend, before diving into the Manson murders for an additional hour. Here's a clip.
That Charlie was a bad man.
Yeah, he wasn't a good guy at all.
I'd like to take a second to remind you that Talking Manson with Lennon and McCartney is brought to you by Uncle Petruccio's Meats.
Each episode of Talking Manson was released on 45, and it was a huge hit. And that's why everybody calls Lennon and McCartney the fathers of podcasting. And that's On This Day in Rock History. I'm Mikki Mackmack.
On This Day in Rock History is brought to you by Sharnies and 108.9 The Hawk.
Hello, this is Geoff the Angerman Garlock with an official 108.9 The Hawk PSA. Well, it's cold and flu season, so we here at 108.9 The Hawk want to remind you to update your vaccinations unless you have been getting them from Steve. Now, I don't know why so many people out in Val Verde have been getting shots from this guy named Steve. No last name. No medical training, and in fact, the 108.9 The Hawk Health Brigade went out there and found out that his vaccinations are just old Lickamade packets mixed up into a syringe. So visit your local doctor or urgent care and stay the hell away from that creep Steve. And that's been a 108.9 The Hawk PSA. 108.9 The Hawk. We've got your ass covered.
Here's what Val Verde thinks of 108.9 The Hawk.
It makes me feel good inside.
You're a little too much Boston. Yeah, maybe you guys could cut back on the Boston.
Makes you feel good?
I like listening to it in my taxi.
I like it. It rocks.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. It kind of makes you in a good mood, happy.
Not so good. I like to think of rock being up here, and I kind of think 108.9 The Hawk is up here. So, not like quite up there, what I was talking about with like rock before, but you get it. You see my hands.
Play some more Jethro Tull.
I listen on my way to work.
I guess it's clear that we're the only choice for rock for Val Verde 108.9 The Hawk. And that's Free Bird on 108.9 The Hawk. And I'm guessing one of us had to take a shit, and I know it wasn't me.
I mean, I got all thrown off by Ramblin' Man, and I was just like, I'm going to have time to take a shit before the song even starts.
You got to go Ramble Man, if you know what I mean.
Oh, my goodness. But then I was like, throw on the bird.
Do you ever say that?
The runs.
A lot of people say all these things about dropping turds, and I always say, I got to Ramble Man.
I always say throw on the bird.
Yep.
That's what I say.
Yep.
We all have different ways.
We all have different ways of saying dropping
poop.
turds. On 108.9 The Hawk, the Allman Brothers on the Wisp Turlington Show. We're still here with our best friend in the whole wide world, Gavin
Garjulo.
Garjulio. I'm your dad, and I get to say that. But we're still talking one
nice.
Man.
It makes me feel like being a kid again.
Does it?
Yeah. I mean, specifically, before 8 when he left. But like, it reminds me of.
But I'm your dad at 9. I'm your dad at 9, and it's just like, I'm watching you. You're in the playground, and I'm in the woods, and I'm like, there's my little Gavin Garjulio, and you turn your head, and you're like, Dad,
what was that? Was he there? Was he there?
And I pull back into the woods.
And then I don't see you again. Panopticon. What is it? Is it really there? Is Dad exactly?
I mean, my wife is convinced that that's the whole reason I'm doing this show is to somehow impress her. I'm sorry, I should say it. My, I don't know, ex, I don't know, we're technically still married.
Okay, you're still married, but okay.
In the eyes of the law, I call her your wife. That's what
I'm going to keep calling her my wife. I'm still wearing the ring. Sorry.
Fuck it, do it.
As far as I know, legally, if you're still wearing the ring,
yes,
that's a wife.
Even if you're divorced, you're still wearing the ring.
That's still a wife.
That's a
wife. You
wife.
have to pay alimony if you're divorced and you're still wearing the ring.
In the eyes of the law, my favorite Eagles song.
I might be wrong. Mick Fleetwood actually told me that. I've realized that was a Mick Fleetwood advice.
That is a Fleetwood if I've ever heard one before. Yep.
That's maybe why.
Oh, there's so many Fleetwoods where Mick is just like, if she's looking at you. I'm not going to finish that one, but it's a Fleetwood.
You can fill in what Mick Fleetwood thinks there. I'm just saying. But we're not here talking about Mick Fleetwood. We're here talking about The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Oh, God. How good would The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway be with some Mick Fleetwood in it with his little balls dangling? God, that would be good.
That's a real sliding doors scenario.
It really is like a whole other world. And 623 on 108.9 The Hawk, we're talking sliding doors. We're talking dads that are missing. And we're talking one man, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Oh, he's not missing. I know where he is.
Where is he?
Oh, you do?
Where?
He lives outside of Boston, Lowell, Massachusetts. He decided to...
Beautiful.
Apparently, he had some sort of job or something that made him move across the country, which is, it's fine. It's fine.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I speak to him once a year, and but I've made sure that he's aware that the show's happening, and that he might get a little something out of it, maybe a chance to reconnect with his son. It's hard because he doesn't really travel much anymore. But
sure. I do have to ask: was your dad a fan of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway at all, or?
No. He did love some early rock and roll. He was more of a Duke of Earl kind of guy.
Oh, he's like a Bill Haley in a comic.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, and because I got into a lot of classic rock and prog and things like that, and he never understood it. He's like, why are these songs so long, and why does that guy have a flower for a head?
Why isn't he playing a big Gretsch? Why isn't he wearing a silver suit?
Why does he keep stabbing his Leslie organ?
Why did the Big Bopper have to die?
Richie Valens!
Hello, baby. I'm not going to make this flight.
But I was kind of convinced that if he had just spent a little time with Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, he'd understand not just more about me, but more about life in general, I'm still convinced.
That's a good life motto. I mean, if we all just spend a little bit more time with Lamb Lies Down on Broadway,
I think so.
Understand a lot more about life, family relationships, everything.
People think it's just an album. It's not. It's really
It's not.
it's a framing. It's a way of seeing the world. Once you sort of step into the role of Rael, like even me, who's been a fan for decades, I had never really fully worn the cloak of Rael before this. And once you start to see things through his eyes,
the cloak of Rael.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I should probably put that.
I have a cloak of Rael. It's in my closet. Scotty, where is the cloak?
Do you need a cloak of Rael?
Do you need to borrow a real cloak of Rael?
I don't have a cloak. You're making me feel like I should maybe put that in the show now. I'm still kind of writing it. I'm still kind of writing the show. So I wanted to. I didn't want to kind of burn all of my creative energy by writing the show way in advance, and then I'd be bored of it by the time the show happened. I wanted to give it that sort of electric, anything could happen,
right?
Or
as
anything
far as I'm
happen.
concerned, you are just taking the spirit of Peter Gabriel, presenting the idea of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway to the rest of the band and saying, I'm going to write it all. It's going to be a big, complicated story. And then halfway through, just think, you know what? Actually, it's a lot of work. And I got to go do this movie with William Friedkin. And my family is thinking about divorcing me. So maybe you guys can just handle the rest of it. Something about slipper men or something, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as I'm wearing a leather jacket and I'm wearing makeup that isn't exactly brown face, but it's
a little close.
It could be.
It's a little close.
Yeah.
But that's just the spirit of Gabriel right there. That's the spirit of Rael, really.
Yeah.
I mean, how you're approaching this art.
Yeah.
I was, I know that Pete Gabriel, in his imagination and in his sort of the way he perceived Lamb Lies on Broadway, he had the leather jacket and the sort of Puerto Rican look. I am actually going with the earlier Peter Gabriel look with the front of my head shaved, sort of bald with the long hair in the back. That's my vision of Rael, personally.
Hey, that's my Rael.
He's a bald teenager.
Yep.
Is the way I see it.
That's what
and just like
says.
pissing off the rest of your band members because you didn't tell them that you were going to do this weird shit up front. Well,
that's a great thing about a solo show. It's just me. Like I don't need to run this by anybody. You
can walk out in the foxtrot, fox head, and women's dress, and it does not matter. Yeah. You're not going to have Peter Gabriel going, okay, well, this is. Or you're not going to have Phil Collins going, okay, well, this is odd. I don't know about this.
Or I mean, Peter Gabriel had to be concerned with Tony and Phil. It's like all I had was Keith, and fuck Keith, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Fuck Keith. Fuck
you probably
Keith.
don't know Keith. That's right.
I don't know him, but the Keiths that I've known outside of Richards.
This was originally going to be a two-man show.
Oh, really? Wow, yes. Scoop. We got a scoop. Scoop it right up. And
Excloopy here. Scoop. We've got it coming in.
Hang on, Scloopy. Scloopy, hang on. That's what you would hear
that's like a song
on.
My dad would have loved.
God, your dad would have loved.
Not to bring tears out. But
if only he were here. Hey, I do want to say really quickly. Still no callers. Caller number 12. It would be great. We got 2 tickets to see The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. The one-man
we
lamb.
Paid for these.
We paid for these.
We have paid for
Still
these.
No
people
takers.
of Val Verde. Just a reminder, if you do not redeem them, we do have a return policy. We
there is a return. The tickets return policy.
Tickets return policy. Nobody claims them. We take them.
We take them.
So don't you worry, people.
Just a heads up. I can't refund you for those.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
I had a lot
Scotty, how much
of money to make up.
We're 300 a pop, Scotty.
These tickets are 300 a pop for
the
solo show used to be
Christ
duo
on a crouton.
Show.
Okay, well, we're going to do it. Caller number 12, please call in. Now, I know a lot of people were expecting to win those Olivia Rodrigo tickets this morning, so that's probably why the phones were all lit up. And
we, of course, already returned those. We got our money back.
Yeah, we got those. We got the money back.
We got that money back. We're just fine.
I mean, your money, it's not going nowhere. I mean, I spent I did a lot of research to get ready for this, which, that's money too. I actually visited Broadway just to, I flew out to New York. And to really get a feel for the place, just because I felt like that would really inform my my production.
Yes.
And I got to say,
any shows while you were there?
Yeah, did you see any shows while you were there, Gavin?
That's the misnomer people have about Broadway. I did not see one theater on Broadway. I saw the sign. It said Broadway, not a theater to be seen. I was expecting Broadway and 42nd Street to be in the same place, but
no way, man.
No.
Broadway
2 different streets.
Yeah, Broadway intersects with 14th Street. That's what people don't tell you.
They don't
when
say
they're
that.
talking about the lights and ballyhoo of Broadway, they're definitely just talking about the H&M.
Looking at the lights and ballyhoo.
But even still, just being on Broadway, like standing on that street, it's just
smelling
like
it.
I felt. I don't know if I can say this. I felt Puerto Rican. I don't know.
No, don't say that. Scotty, pull it. Scotty, pull it.
Don't say that. I'm not saying. I didn't mean that in a negative way.
In a good way. You said that. You
meant that in a Peter Gabriel Puerto Rican way.
You felt real.
Yeah.
You felt real.
That's
where Rail would be hanging out down on Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
going in and out of like a Sweet Greens, maybe.
Guys, we do have some business to attend to here, and we'll talk more Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, but God almighty, if you want mugs down on whatever street they're on in Val Verde East, it does not say that here, Scotty.
They keep moving addresses, which
they really just keep moving. But Juggggs Mug Emporium, proud sponsors of the Whisp Geoff show, and we got some good mugs on sale this week. First one, that's when Jesus carried me to the hospital, a.k.a. Footprints 2. And it says that all on the mug.
It does, and in parentheses, the beginning.
The
and
beginning.
You're just like, wait, did you make this?
No, it actually says, read that. It's closer there, Jeff. It says the beginning.
Oh, now that's extra confusing.
That is
that's
extra confusing. Now, next one, I was drinking out of this morning in your shitty little kitchen that is literally
I know where
right
this
there.
is going. All right.
And it says, One Nation, under Todd, who's invincible?
That's not a misprint. That is not a misprint. That is Todd.
And he's invincible somehow.
He is invincible.
And I'd love to meet him. I'd love to meet Todd. So if you're listening to the Whisp Geoff show right now, Todd, give us a call. Hey, we would give you 2 tickets to see Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Todd, call in. We got these tickets.
We got 2 tickets that we're just going to eat our asses on.
Tickets to paradise.
One final mug here from Juggggs Mug Emporium, Val Verde East. And it's the cutest damn mug, Jeff.
So damn cute.
It's a picture of a sloth that just says, God damn it, I'm moving as fucking fast as I fucking can.
Oh, it's so cute.
You look at a sloth and you're just like, they're just moving as fucking fast as they fucking can.
They're trying their best. And the nice one about this is it's a heat-changing mug. So you put any hot liquid in there, it becomes Sloth from the Goonies.
Oh, what?
And it completely changes the context of that.
It makes no sense because,
sense when it's in a hot liquid. If you're drinking an iced coffee, cute as all goddamn hell.
You don't know how fast Sloth from the Goonies really actually moved. Because he was pretty stationary. He was pretty stationary in every scene, so he could be slower than a sloth.
Eating that gigantic tray of, fruits and meats.
Well, we figured it out. Of course, that's Juggggs Mug Emporium. We got to play a little bit of a jingle. Mugs. Mug Emporium, Juggggs Mug Emporium in Val Verde East. They're known as the Beast when it comes to jugs. Okay, so here we go. Gavin, what are you feeling right now knowing that? Do you know the capacity of the Val Verde Enormodome? When you rented it, did they tell you the capacity? Because sometimes those fuckers down there, they leave that out.
They bury the lead.
The story, I had originally wanted to maybe find a slightly smaller theater than the Enormodome. Something more, a little more intimate. I thought that might, that maybe I didn't want to bite off a little more than I could chew. But
so nice little black box theater maybe with a bunch of sight lines that block everything that you could see.
Like 14 seats.
14
where you
smells.
might see a roach crawling in the corner, like one of those kind of spaces.
Might be shit water that falls on you while you're on stage.
Shit water just coming down.
Slipperman, it gets caught in your giant slipper head.
Yep. Is that but I guess you could have rented out the Verde Black Box Theater.
Yeah,
which is very cheap.
You could have rented out UCB Val Verde.
You could have rented out UCB
They are struggling.
Val Verde.
That one's been
shoulda, woulda, coulda. Where were you?
I know.
Where were you, Jeff?
Where was it? I mean, this is
you were in the shitty RV. I'll tell you that.
That's all right. Okay, I was in Tim Rice's RV. Chill out.
Well, as you may, I don't know if you're aware of this. I work for the Val Verde town assessor's office.
I did not know this.
with Keith, and this is how we had this original idea that we were going to do this production together. And we were doing property tax assessments for the zone, the Enormodome, and its surrounding buildings. And I found out that maybe they didn't really agree with our assessment, and so we kind of had we were able to make it work. We were able to make it work. I say, hey,
Sloopy,
you need something from me.
Hold on, Sloopy, hang on right there.
Hold on,
we got another Sloopy
Sloopy, hang on. I'm Gavin's dad, and I'm not talking to him.
Yeah, so that's pretty hurtful.
So this is blackmail that we're talking about.
I don't know if blackmail is the right word. I think it's just like we each, I have chocolate, you have peanut butter. Let's put it together.
Favorite commercial. You just, I can't stop singing that jingle for.
I got chocolate.
You got peanut butter. Put them together. Oh my God, so good. I don't even remember.
Is that song going to be in your version of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway?
Lamb Lies Down Broadway.
Was that a commercial?
Yeah,
I believe it was. That was
Scotty,
that was for Farnsworth peanut butter turds.
That's just. I thought that was just a snack that I used to make. But
who taught you to make that snack? What a good snack!
I know. I just sometimes I get a little crazy. I mean, this is the sort of creative energy that is kind of the kind of thing you can look forward to at the productions, like this out of the box
butter and chocolate. Yeah.
I cannot wait. Val Verde Enormodome on Tuesday. The one-man Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. 250,000 seats. My God, it's going to be good.
It's that many. It's that many.
See
250.
all of those people there just loving this song because it better be in it. It's counting out time. Genesis on 108.9. The Hawk. Whisp, Geoff, Art. All your favorites and the best damn classic rock in Val Verde. The Whisp Turlington Show on 108.9. The Hawk.
If you talk to any doctor, they're going to tell you that for the human body to work properly, you need to ingest the right amount of minerals and salts into your body. But if you're talking to the wrong doctor, they're going to tell you that you shouldn't be getting those minerals and salts from a salt lick. But we're here to tell you they're wrong. Hi, we're the Salt Brothers. I'm Stan Salt, and my brother was Dan Salt, and we've been making our patented Salt Brothers salt licks for the past 20 years. And now it's just me, Stan Salt, because my brother Dan Salt died from salt poisoning. Now doctors, scientists, and probably random people on the street are going to be telling you my brother died because he was licking on a salt lick. That salt licks are only made for animals. Well, I'm here to tell you you're damn wrong. I can tell you from my own research that my brother Dan did not die from our salt licks. He died from processed foods, which is what we've been warning you about as the Salt Brothers for 20 years. And if you don't trust me, then trust the doctor I trust. Me. I consider myself a doctor. Humans are animals. Animals often need salt licks. And if they're good enough for animals, then humans should be eating them. Animals don't eat processed foods, but I saw my brother eat some Big Macs now and then. And that's science. Now, do I miss my brother? Of course I do. Am I going to give up on selling human-grade salt licks that are actually converted animal salt licks? No. So make sure you grab a Salt Brother salt lick. Available at any reputable prepper website.
Have you always wanted a shed in your backyard? And have you found that most shed options these days are just too hard to put together? Well, that's where I come in. Hello, I am Chris Jack, founder and creator of the Jack Shack. The Jack Shack is more than just a shack. It's the shed of your dreams. It's just that my last name does not rhyme with shed, but it does rhyme with shack, so the Jack Shack was born. The Jack Shack can be assembled in your backyard in no time. And with the Jack Shack, once you start, you'll finish in minutes. Yeah, some have said that building the Jack Shack is the quick stress release they needed. And it cleans up quick with all polyurethane surfaces. You can literally do anything inside a Jack Shack. Store your wheelbarrow, your propane tanks, hide that unsightly pile of mulch in it, or just use it as your personal man cave. The one place you can get away. Your Jack Shack. Get one for yourself today. The Jack Shack is available at any Valmart or Tool Barn locations. The Jack Shack. And I just have to say, it's also a great place to masturbate. 1.
108.9. The Hawk. I don't know why we played this. It's not really. Did you have to go again, Geoff? Is that why we're playing In the Cage from The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway? It's not really classic rock gold, if you know what I mean.
I stopped in to get a seabird breakfast burrito before I came back home, so that is why I'm kind of in the cage right now because I can't get into my bathroom.
Well, it's good that we're playing this. You can't get into your bathroom. Scotty's in there running the show, but it is good that we're playing this right now because Gavin
Garjulo.
Gargoogly is doing
Svengoolie.
Svengoolie is doing a one-man Lamb Lies Down on Broadway at the 250,000 seater Val Verde.
That's actually how I refer to it. My one-man lamb. Doing one-man
lamb. Oh my God, that's good. That's got to get people in, right?
One-man lamb.
I mean, it's very catchy. All your favorites, of course, will have Carpet Crawlers, which was my wedding song.
Wait. What's your wedding song?
Your wedding song.
Yeah.
How did your wife take that? Was it when first off, beep, back, additional question to that. Did you do the original or are we talking 1999 smooth version of Carpet Crawlers?
Oh, no, we did that. We kept it old school.
You gotta keep it old school.
You gotta
kept it old school. I wouldn't say that it was my wife's choice. I mean, marriage is about compromise.
What did she want?
I think she had wanted You Are So Beautiful by Joe Cocker.
Oh, God, what a wedding song. What a song that my third marriage, Joe Cocker sang that. And I never saw my wife, Sheila, cry quite like she did on that wedding night. For many reasons.
It's a good wedding song choice.
But Joe Cocker singing, You Are, and he's doing all the twitches. So beautiful. And he's doing hands up here, like to me.
Like you just ate a seabird breakfast burrito.
He's like, I better play a 9-minute song because I gotta fucking go. But no, not you, man. You had Carpet Crawlers.
Well, that's why I would never want You Are So Beautiful. It's like you're trying to get your wife to want to sleep with you that night. And why would you want the competition?
Why would you want the competition?
Why would you want
there could be and Sheila did fuck Joe Cocker that night. And quick.
That's true.
Quick divorce. That was my fastest.
They don't call Cocker for nothing. That's a T-shirt. We should put that on a shirt.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Joe Cocker tour, where he just went through and fucked everyone in every town.
In fact, they called him Joe Cocker.
Joe
Cocker.
And he's like, I'll do it. And he just runs over and he does it, and it's beautiful, and we all love it. Though I don't love it because he took my third wife, away from me in 1977, right here in Val Verde. But I do have to ask, who sang Carpet Crawlers at your wedding? Was it Keith?
No. It was basically it's kind of the same way that we're running the music at the show next week.
Ooh, tell us.
I call it a one-man show. It is a slight lie. Not a lie. My son Percy is going to be basically riding the volume knob on the boombox, and basically when it's time for me to sing, he'll turn it down and I'll sing right. But then in the instrumental parts, he'll crank it up, so you really get the full. So you get to hear the real music.
That's a perfect version.
Oh, that is going to play so well in the Enormodome. That is going to play so well.
That's exactly how the music should be.
I mean, because there are 8 levels in the Enormodome, and I hope you're not even fucking miking this boombox. I'm hoping it's just coming from the boombox.
Just say anything style.
Yeah, Percy's just like, I'm back. Of course, he would turn it down at the I'm back part, and then turn it back up at the
of course.
Part.
The long instrumental sections,
then
you get to hear the music, which is great for me because I'm kind of a noisy dancer.
Oh, so what do you mean by noisy dancer? Are these like joints that make sounds, or what do we mean there?
Well, it's just, I don't, there's a lot of clomping around, and you don't necessarily want to hear, and I am technically wearing my ankle braces, so I don't roll my ankles again.
Oh, love that.
So it's just that way, if you can crank up the music, then you don't hear the sort of clip clop of me when I'm doing my interpretive dancing.
It's going to be really great being one of 250,000 people watching this show next Tuesday night, Val Verde Enormodome, one band.
Hey, I'm not greedy. I'm not expecting a sold out show the very first night.
Sure.
If I could just get it to 200,000.
I would be.
perfectly happy with that.
At $300 a ticket, you'd only have to do this one-man lamb. You'd be done.
I mean, people are champing at the bit to see Lamb Lies Down.
By the way, 300 is an advance price. Day of is more than that. Just to entice people to go buy their tickets now.
What are we talking there, Gavin? Are we talking?
I mean, I don't know the exact numbers. It's somewhere in the 400 to 450 range. Something.
Oh, but that's without fees. That's without those ticket fees, except for that one convenience fee charge that they charge you at the door for buying a ticket at the door, which is a wonder. That one makes sense to me. I've never had an issue with that.
And we still got tickets right now. If you want to call, phone lines are wide open.
These are not Olivia Rodrigo.
Scotty,
these are of course Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, the one-man show, and has all of your favorite songs.
It's
like
BYOB,
Carpet Crawlers, which is usually
BYOB.
only in a medley
BYOB,
by Genesis.
Yeah.
In the Cage, sometimes they play, and then
Hairless
all
Heart.
the other
oh my
songs.
God! When you're clumping up on stage to Hairless Heart, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it.
Oh my God!
Assuming we're comped. Are we comped to come see this, Gavin?
Are we comped?
I'm going to have to check with the box office on that.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you. I know I was told I was given 4 comps total for the night. And yes, I know that my other son, Reginald, is taking 1.
Reggie's going to take 1 for sure. Percy's already getting in because he's part of the fucking show.
My
or does Percy have
getting
to pay?
another one? Percy gets in free because he is technically part of the crew.
Good,
he is technically part of the crew.
Good. Because we're union men here. We just want to make sure if he's working, he's in that tech union there. We want to make sure that he gets all of his rights.
Now, I do want to play
getting a free ticket to play a boombox.
I've heard of pay to play. I've never heard of pay to hit play.
I mean, with jokes like that, how could Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, the one-man show, go wrong?
One-man Lamb. I do have to, before we get going there, Gavin, Scotty did put together a really great game he wants me to play. And it's, what were you thinking when you did these Lamb songs? And he guarantees these are part of the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. So when you were putting together One Man Lamb and you heard these songs, how did you make it work? And here's the first one. What were you thinking there, Gavin?
I'm sorry, are you making fun of me? Is that what's happening right now?
What?
You insulting me?
Is that not?
No, Scotty put together. I'm very sorry. Let's move on.
This was Scotty.
What were you thinking, Gavin?
Come on, Whisp. You know damn well that's not a Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Come on, man. I
don't know.
I mean, if you're not going to take this seriously, I've
never even seen it.
It might affect the comp status of your tickets.
Okay. Well, one more.
I'm sorry.
Just one more to take it serious. One more to take it serious.
I'm taking this so fucking
spend a lot of time,
seriously.
and your wife leaves you, and your best friend quits on you, and you get a second mortgage on your house to put on this production, and then somebody tries to make fun of you by making you have to endure the low point in the long career of Genesis.
Okay, I do apologize. I do apologize. I will also say really quickly here, I'll say this very fast. Usually people that talk to Wisp Turlington like that, they get a drone up their ass. But I'm giving you a pass because I know how hard you worked on One Man Lamb.
I'm under a lot of stress. I will admit. I'm sorry. It's
a new Wisp. It's a new Wisp, baby. It's a new Wisp, okay?
It's understandable.
I am not going to take anything out on you because you just talked to me on my show, on my land. You're in my home. You're in Wisp's house right now. But I'm not going to take it out on you, Gavin, because I know how hard it is to do a show with a 250,000 seat arena.
And even if you're only hoping for at least 200 on the first one, and you only have a couple covered right now with comps, and if we get rid of these tickets, but I'm not sure we will, then you still need to sell 199,000.
Scotty, quick question here.
993, I think.
Who's playing the Verde Dome? The dome that is smaller, but next door, it is a smaller dome. You could have just gone for the Verde Dome. I don't know why you did.
You should have gone there.
Stupid
Do you have any blackmail on them that you could
who's playing that? Oh, it's Aerosmith.
Now that's
Aerosmith.
a competition right
Same
there.
night?
Interesting.
Same night, next Tuesday night. It's part of their last 40 shows ever in Val Verde tour.
As far as I heard, Little Bird on My Shoulder told me a little hint, too. I think they might be playing some songs off of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, is what I heard.
What?
You haven't heard you haven't heard In a Cage until you've heard Steven Tyler scat.
In the cage. Okay, tell Oh, it's good to be so good.
You get it. That's the thing. You understand what competition
you're making me reimagine the show now. Now I'm starting to wonder if I should take this back into the shop, so to speak.
You might want to. And could what about this song, Gavin? Is it part of your Lamb show?
Okay.
If you're taking it into the shop, and I don't know, maybe this one isn't on Lamb. Is this out on Lamb? And I think you could
be on Lamb. This is the last song on Lamb where Rael's like, "Oh no, who's touching me? I don't know because everybody around me is invisible." Yada da da da.
We think it is because you kind of start losing focus towards the end of Lamb.
Yeah, you really do. I cannot get past
as was
the first
intended
4
by
songs.
Peter.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Petey was just like
past those first 4.
Petey was just like, I'm gonna wear fucking people out with this one. That's what he told me in the studio when I was there.
Exactly.
And
Pink Floyd's The Wall wore people out. Get ready for this one.
And you're also going to wear the fuck out of people. Next Tuesday night at the Verde Enormodome, Gavin Garjulo is doing One Man Lamb. Good Lord. Tickets still on sale at any tickets outlet. And any final words there, Gavin?
I would just say, I'll see you next Tuesday. And if anyone has...
C-U-N-T.
Yep, they literally, literal see you next Tuesday. It's rare.
Literal see you next Tuesday.
That was a literal. It wasn't even a joke one. It wasn't even a joke one.
I would say if anybody has the lyrics handy, I could use those. Some of the songs I'm
you're going to need them.
Quite so.
You're going to need them
about.
You're going to need them.
Yeah.
Oh, and Gavin broke up there, so...
Just left us. He left us.
He left us.
About what he's going to do.
He left us. So, Gavin, Tuesday, go, maybe, Enormodome. Big tickets.
Joe.
Still available. Oh, my God.
Olivia Rodrigo.
Not Olivia Rodrigo. 6:58 on 108.9 The Hawk. Hey, coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, you asked for it, you got it. Peter Cetera's back. And, of course, he's taking...
finally.
No questions about Chicago once again. And but we're going to try. Oh, my God.
We're going to try our darndest because right after that, we got to get those questions in because right after that... Oh, God. Skeet Ulrich's here, and you know what he's doing?
Every day, Skeet Ulrich.
He's doing a one-man show based on Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Well,
Skeet.
Gavin's not going to love hearing about that. I hope Gavin has turned off his Zoom for that one. Oh, my God. What a morning here on 108.9 The Hawk. You know what? I kind of feel like I could, I kind of feel like we gotta get together somehow there, Jeff. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
And another way to say that is come together, right? Oh, 108.9 The Hawk. And now it's the Hawk interview.
It worked, though.
I'm sorry. My Wi-Fi got all messed up. And
it was perfect timing for that to happen.
It was truly perfect timing because I love the fact that we're like, what's the last thing you want to say about this show? And you're just like...
It's like worked out wonderful.
There isn't anything else to say about One Man Lamb. Oh,
that's funny.
Christian Finnegan.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you know what? Who cares? It's wonderful. This is the lowest stake podcast out there.
Oh, yeah.
It is the lowest stake podcast. And we tell that to everybody that's coming on. It's just like, you're going to have fun. We're going to what the plans that we have made at the top of the show are never going to happen. Anything. We didn't even throw to Big Truck and Greg. And I had a whole little thing for it. They're out there still at the Verde Dome, the smaller one. That would have been great for Gavin. Gavin's dad didn't even call in.
No.
Oh my God.
That's so sad.
It's so sad.
Poor Gavin.
Christian, thank you so much for joining us on 108.9 The Hawk. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still recovering. For my dismount gone awry.
Yeah. No, it was honestly the perfect dismount. Those are the ones that you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ. That's God intervening, because God's a huge 108.9 The Hawk fan. And he's this is going to be hilarious.
And I think God has a sense of when people have hit their threshold with Lamb Lies on Broadway.
Yeah, God's like, I'm going to scratch the second disc so you don't have to listen to it. Christian, one question we always ask our guests when they come on 108.9 The Hawk, it is the question for The Hawk, and it's this. What is your relation to classic rock?
I mean, I grew up in the suburbs in the 80s, which is sort of the real... I would say it was more the heyday of classic rock than the 70s in a way, because the 80s is when it became embalmed, when all of that music sort of became sacrosanct. And it became a genre as opposed to just what was on the radio. And so, I think as a kid who grew up in that era, there's just a canon that you become familiar with that, so I mean, that was junior high and early high school for me, the time when you are the most absorbent, in terms of music. So it's like, there's so much music that I like more than Aerosmith or Led Zeppelin or whatever, but I'll never know it as well as I do. Song Remains the Same or whatever. It's like, it'll never happen. So but it's a very suburban dude thing.
It's burned into your DNA. I mean, there's a reason, I've said this before, that like Genesis became my favorite band, but in my late 30s, mid to late 30s, because I forever was just like, well, no, I've heard them on classic rock. I know those 3 songs. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, there's more music that I really like by them. But it's just that's the you think that there's only these like 2 or 3 songs by every band,
right? Well, and I remember a friend of mine who was a teacher. And this was probably 15-20 years ago at this point. He was teaching some kids, and he brought up Led Zeppelin, and one of the kids said, wait, what was their song?
Oh my God!
Because wow, God forbid you have more than one. And I grew up in Massachusetts, and so there were certain classic rock bands that I thought Boston, the band, was as big as the Beatles, just because in the eyes of Boston classic rock radio, they were. Boston, of course, Aerosmith, The Fools. I don't know if you remember if you knew that band, The Fools. They did a cover of Do Wah Diddy.
I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah, Till Tuesday. Any band that was from Boston was sort of elevated in your mind, like you thought that they were much bigger than they actually were.
I mean, that is actually something that I'm realizing, like there are those certain bands that also regionally got big. Like it wasn't until I went to school in Boston that I heard Question Mark and the Mysterians so much, because they would play Dirty River all the time, but like Dirty Water, but that wasn't played in Connecticut.
Dirty River was CCR. So
yes, Dirty River, yes, my favorite Southern band. But that's also why I remember like thinking Semisonic was a Boston band, but because they picked up on them earlier.
Oh, did they?
Than anyone else on whatever.
They have a very honestly Semisonic. They sound like a Boston band. There's a quality that Boston bands have that I'm never able to fully put my finger on, but it is an earnestness. It's it's sort of a slight uncoolness. And I don't even mean that as a negative thing. They're just slightly dorky. All the Boston indie bands, other than the Pixies, which are sort of the exception that proves the rule. But no, even the Pixies, though, they would wear like tank tops, and they looked bad. They looked bad.
They looked terrible. In any picture of Pixies, they're just like banana.
Boston is interesting. Like I came to Boston too as like a hardcore kid, like a hardcore punk kid, and the hardcore scene in Boston is very unique at that specific time because it is this like rock-based hardcore. Yeah. So you're always just like, is this even really punk? Like it sounds like it's more influenced by Aerosmith, etc., and those types of band that you're talking about, the kind of semi-chip on their shoulder bar band.
Yeah, there is definitely a sort of angry younger brother vibe to the Boston music scene, for sure.
There was my vice principal in high school was I can't even remember his name, and I'm looking him up right now because he was in a band called Trax. And they were
Was it X, T-R-A-X?
No, I think it's just Tracks, like Springsteen Tracks. Like, boring. So boring. But he was in a band. It was in Tracks, and he knew us as like the rock and roll kids in the high school. Like, they got a band. I can connect with those guys. And he gave us a copy of his band's album, which was just the greatest hits. It was called The Very Best of Tracks. And they did, and he was like, we used to play with Aerosmith all the time. Sometimes they would open for us. And it still has one of the best versions of All Along the Watchtower I have ever heard. And I just looked up to this guy. I will put that up on the Twitter and on the Patreon, because I looked up to this guy so much just because he was like, oh, yeah, those fuckers, the Toxic Twins. Oh, man, they used to fucking open for us. They would eat our shit. And like, he would just keep on going on about how much better his band was than Aerosmith. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I just saw Aerosmith at Roanoke Civic Center, and I didn't see Tracks anywhere. So, anything you want to plug?
I would plug my newsletter, which is called New Music for Olds. It's newmusicforolds.substack.com, and in it is pretty much what it sounds like. I recommend music for people and they're, who are too old to want to find it themselves and aren't music geeks. But it's like, it's for people who aren't necessarily wrapped up in music geekdom because they have kids and lives and things like that. And so it's music, and it's some jokes, and it's a lot of fun, and I hope people sign up.
I love that. Awesome. And Christian, thank you so much for joining. This has been amazing. We got to have you back on and see if the show at Val Verde Enormodome actually brought people out in Val Verde.
And I should probably also mention that my last stand-up special, Show Your Work, is streaming on Amazon, so you can check it out. Oh,
hell yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that was released in October 21. So are there pandemic jokes in there?
It was shot in the pandemic. It's about 70% stand-up special, 30% documentary about my wife owns a performance venue and about trying to keep that open during the pandemic. And we were actually living there during the pandemic. We were, because we had lost our apartment. And so we literally had a mattress backstage and we would sleep in the theater.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I had like a foot operating camping shower that I would use in the basement. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I do have to say, just a plug for that too, because QED is one of my favorite spaces in New York City. So I don't think QED. I don't think I've ever had a bad show there, man. It's just such a fun space. And your wife and I got into a conversation one time because in QED there is a anti-Sammy Hagar thing on the wall, and I'm pro Sammy.
You are?
I am pro Sammy.
And you were allowed back, huh?
I know, that's the thing. We had a conversation. I'm like, it's not that I hate Roth. It's just the Van Hagar speaks to me a little differently because, like, I was of the age of for unlawful carnal knowledge coming out, and like that was my Halen. Like, I was too young to experience the other Halen.
You're all about pound cake. I get it.
I'm all about fucking humans being from the Twister soundtrack. Oh. You know what I mean?
There we go. There's the requisite Twister reference.
you know when we should end this podcast? Right now.
108.9 The Hawk was created, written, and performed by Jason Gore and Geoff Garlock. For all episodes of 108.9 The Hawk, please search for 108.9 The Hawk on any podcast provider or visit 1089thehawk.com. To support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/1089thehawk. The world's greatest comedy podcast about classic rock radio. 108.9 The Hawk.